The views expressed in this episode, as with all episodes of the podcast, are purely host opinions. The content on this podcast should not be taken as indisputable fact. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Hello and welcome to the Full Bottle Podcast, and happy after Easter. We're now past the quarter point of the year, and we hope you all had a chance to have a bit of a rest over the break of Easter and Anzac Day. Sarah, did you get up to anything fun, exciting, or anything at all?
Hi there, Rach. I did. I took my little girl down to Cooma to see family and friends down there, which was lovely just to get away, really. We did a bit of house minding and dog minding, which was super fun. And the Easter Bunny, much to my daughter's absolute delight, the Easter Bunny did find us down there. So she was worried that the bunny wouldn't know where we were.
Oh.
So yeah, no, it's a bit cute. And then for the Anzac break, we went the other direction and got up to Orange in New South Wales to see family and friends as well, which was just fantastic. So I feel like we've been on the road a lot, but so worth it to see people and have a bit of a break. What about you?
So my partner works in theatre. So he's a theatre technician, and he just recently worked on tour for the Queensland Ballet on a show called Capalia. And he was in Toowoomba over the Anzac Day weekend. So I took the Greyhound in and went and saw that show. It was a lovely show. It was really fun. And see him. It's great to see him in his element, But other than that, it's just kind of been being at home and relaxing and hanging out and having a good break.
Oh, that sounds perfect. I think another person who's done a bit of travelling over the last few weeks is Sharon Chapman, who is our guest for this month's podcast. Sharon is the CEO and founder of ABC Software, which we're going to learn all about when we bring Sharon into the studio to have a chat with her. Sharon grew up surrounded by a market garden, which was her family's business, and orchards in Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. And she quickly pursued a career in IT out of that lovely childhood. She founded ABC Software, the company, nearly 30 years ago, which is pretty phenomenal. So a founder and heading up her own company. She understands, what we learned about her at Congress particularly, is that she understands the intersection between horticulture and software, like probably not many other people in Australia and New Zealand. And she's made her business out of delivering solutions for growers and packers to make informed decisions, and particularly around some of those hot button labour issues, which was definitely one of the themes at Congress, Rach. So we're about to bring Sharon in to meet her. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us. You're one of the busiest people on the planet, and I know I think you've just got back home. Did you have a fantastic Easter and Anzac break? There were a couple of long weekends in there, or were you just working?
No, I took a break. We've been in Australia for at least 3 weeks, been at the Citrus Conference and then been at Mildura Fruit Company. We're doing a big software install here. So I got home Good Friday. My partner came up to Auckland and picked me up, and we took a long weekend in Auckland, caught up with some friends and family, and then drove back down to Napier and had lots of good catch-up time. It was really good. Took an extra day even.
Oh, fantastic. I think quite a few people have done that along the way. Well, it was absolutely wonderful to have you at Congress, and I think we've got some fantastic shots of you on stage in full presenting, chatting mode. So thank you for your contribution to that event for us, and we'll get onto some of the points that you made in your panel discussion just a little bit later. But first of all, we were just hoping to find out a little bit more about you and your journey in the horticultural and tech sector. So tell us a little bit about your earlier years growing up surrounded by, I think I'm right in saying, market gardens and orchards.
Yeah, we were in one of those roads between, there's 2 cities, Napier and Hastings, and a road that runs between. And when I was a child, it was full of roadside stalls. So small orchards with shops in the front selling fruit. And my parents had a market garden. So we had a shop selling, potatoes and pumpkins and strawberries and corn and all those things. So I grew up being able to count pretty quickly, dealing with the customers. And dirt under my fingernails. So I was pretty pleased when we sold and moved to town when I was about 15.
Oh, other than being a teenager, probably desperate to get out. It sounds like quite an idyllic first part of your childhood.
It was good fun as a child for sure. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and what just for those of us who haven't been to Hawke's Bay, what's it like?
Fruit bowl of New Zealand, it's known as. So very big in apples. It's the biggest apple growing. Apparently, it has the absolutely primo climate to grow apples,
Right.
and also quite a bit of wine grapes. So very
Okay.
foodie orientated. Lots of great
Yes.
restaurants and lots of great wineries. But of course, on a scale that's New Zealand scale. So I think our entire wine thing is probably like a corner of like Australia somewhere, but
Right, yeah. But
but
still, it sounds gorgeous.
yeah, I mean you can get on your bike and ride a bike on bike trail and get to about 6 or 7 wineries.
Oh,
Without
wow.
well, the most difficulty is staying upright on your bike, I think.
Wear a helmet.
I mean, don't sell yourselves too short. Some of the best wine I've ever drank has been from New Zealand. You guys have some beautiful produce that comes out of New Zealand and beautiful country and everything.
Thanks,
Very
Rachel.
lucky.
Yeah, we've got good growing
Yeah.
soils and climate for sure.
Yeah, gorgeous. So, I guess the next question for me is for someone who's never heard of ABC software or what it is that you do, can you just explain a little bit there might be some listeners who don't know anything about the company.
Sure. So we started out as a bespoke software company. So a customer will come along and say, "I've got this problem. Can you write us some software to make that problem less challenging?" So we would write tailor-made software, bespoke software for various companies. And probably about 10, so we're 30, getting close to 30 years we've been going. So about 10 years ago, we were quite heavily involved in the horticulture sector, and we decided it was probably a good time to write software that we could be used many times over as opposed to just bespoke software. Because there's obviously every pack house, lots of similarities. It sort of amazes me how different they can be. But
Yeah, right.
and farm. So we write software. We develop software packages, solutions for pack houses, for on farm to do with the worker management and quality,
Yes.
and also for spray diaries.
Okay, so that's quite a breadth of offerings for your various clients. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, and some basically use all of them, and most use one or two.
Right. So, did you study tech? I mean, did you study? Sorry, it's a
No, I
software.
understand.
It's a software
Yeah.
engineer, isn't it? That
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Did you study that?
No, because it's so far back in the day. I was fortunate to get a job in the sector before it was a requirement to have a degree
Right.
or even a
Good.
requirement to have a diploma. You could sort of sit an aptitude test and they're like, "Well, you look pretty good, so we'll hire you." And then I was extremely lucky to have some very good mentors, a couple of really good mentors in my early years. And also it's something that I'm good at. So you put all that together and I've got to where I am today, where we hire, I have a team of people, and basically you don't get in the door without a degree.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
things have sort of changed a bit. Yep.
Different
Yeah.
times. And do you hire people that have, very specific software engineering training from universities?
Yeah. More they've sort of, we've got a local technology campus. I think you call them here.
A
What
TAFE. Would it be a
Yeah,
TAFE?
TAFE. So
Yes.
similar.
Yes. Very
And they do
vocational.
actually a business computing degree. And we've taken some interns from there, and they've been like 10 out of 10. So it's kind of like more about having the right aptitude, the right potential, and then they learn on the job.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it sounds like they're lucky graduates to
Well,
come
it's
and work for
win-win. Yeah.
yeah, come and work for you though. It sounds amazing. So
That's very
you
generous.
sort of fell into IT a little bit. Would that be fair to say? You found yourself a bit of a
I sorted out. I did seek out the job and the industry, um, but I got good opportunities along the way that was able to. And then I was typical kind of Kiwi and Aussie. Really, I did my OE in the UK, and I was doing IT again over there. And when I came back, I was like, you know what? I'm really sick of working for people. I'm really sick of everyone
yes,
making promises and I have to deliver it. So I
yes.
thought I would start my own business. And then if there was going to be a promise that was made, then it was on me to deliver it.
Oh, fantastic. Now, what's an OE?
Oh, overseas experience.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that not a term in Australia?
It'd be more like an expat,
Or
I'd
doing a gap
probably,
year.
or like
Yeah.
Doing a gap year.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I haven't heard of that one. It's New Zealand lingo.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Indeed.
so you came back from overseas and you're determined to start your own thing.
Yeah.
What did you do first?
I bought a computer.
Handy.
And
Good start.
can I tell you what? It's
Very
really easy to
start.
set up an IT business because all you really need is a computer and a car. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't take a lot of investment. And I got a second-hand desk and I put that in the corner of the bedroom and that was me. Away I went.
Were you a bit of a pioneer? I mean, I know we're not 100 years old, but were you a bit of a pioneer then?
Sort of didn't feel like I was. I just thought I was doing my own thing. But I guess. I mean, a dose of optimism and a dash of enthusiasm and a little bit of smart gets you a long way. So you just, because I was back in my hometown, I just tapped into my contacts, and before I know it, I got a client here and a client there, and
Can you remember who your first client was?
yeah, two. There was two first clients. There was one lady, Anne Joel. She's retired now, and I went to it's called WISE, Women in Self-Employment, and I met her there. And not long after I got back, I got back to New Zealand, and then we had a child. So I went to this meeting. I was pregnant, and she goes, "Oh, I've got this database, and I really need some help with it." It's like, okay, well, I'm your woman, and anyway, I fixed up whatever it was, and I was probably 6 or 7 months pregnant when I met her.
Yeah.
And so she was my first client, along with Heinz Waddy. So they're called Kraft Heinz now. So there's a
Yes.
big canning plant in Hawke's Bay, and I had one of my brothers work there, and he keyed me into the IT people, and I got some work out of them. They turned out to be a really big client for quite some time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ran into this lady, not ran into her, she wanted some more work done quite, another 6 months later. And she saw me and she goes, "Oh my goodness, you've lost a lot of weight." I'm
Oh,
going, I had a baby. It was pretty funny.
better than the other comments that sometimes happen you, when you're pregnant. So what were some of the greatest challenges? Looking across that 30-year history of starting from scratch, what have been maybe a couple of your biggest challenges that you've faced and overcome?
The biggest challenge, I think, has always been that whether it was just me or whether then I started, some years later hiring people, because you was always on this bespoke software cycle, you only, it's a bit like being a trader. You get paid for the work that you do. So it was always about making sure there's enough work in the pipe to keep everybody going.
Yeah.
So that was really what it was like for quite some time. And it was like boom or bust, You always had more work than you could almost handle. And then it's like, oh, geez, we only got work for a week out. I better sort of, get on the phone or whatever the case may be. So now we have product and we're kind of making product sales now. And so there's more of a annual annual revenue coming in through the fact that we're selling a service really. So it's better.
Yep. Okay. Fantastic. Well, it's hats off to you for starting a company and keeping it going for more than 3 decades.
I tell you what, I think it's sometimes better than working for other people. Working for
Okay.
myself is like there was two things I could do. That meant I didn't have to work on anyone else's clock. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you work a lot longer and a lot harder, but sometimes you just sort of, get up late if that's what you want to do. No alarm clock in my life for a long time. And I try really hard to be the boss. There will be the boss that I want to work for.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. And it's probably really suited you being a mum as well along the way. Yeah.
My daughter has great phone skills.
Does she?
She'd come home with a little nipper, from school, and she'd hear people on the phone, and she was very good at answering the phone. Hello, my
Oh,
name
good on
is.
her.
How can pretty cute.
I could also imagine that going down your own path has allowed you to, I guess, solve problems that you've seen maybe don't have a solution in the market. Like, I could imagine growing up in such an environment where you're so surrounded by growing and orchards and horticulture and markets and everything. You would have seen probably a lot of challenges that maybe at the time weren't able to be solved by technology, but since you've come in and you've seen what technology is capable of, you've been able to come in and, solve those problems or see how those problems could be solved, would you say? Yeah.
Yes, but only from my working career perspective. Like as just a casual observer, I was more interested in what the fruit tasted like, I guess,
Oh, that's
than
fair.
than being really kind of involved in the business process of it. But it's I did a lot of business analysis when I was living in the UK, and uh, business is business. Like there's problems. And what I really enjoy is like, how do you make as simple a solution as possible to a problem that's often complex? Or in this industry, probably it's more about that the users of it are not tech savvy. So it's trying to make a solution that is simple to use, but you're trying to deliver a really it has to be a very solid result. We're dealing with data; it can't be wrong, especially in like in the orchards and that. We're talking about worker management, so we're talking about people's pay and productivity and those things that decisions are made around. But at the same time, the people who are using it, maybe they're foreigners, maybe they're older, and tech isn't necessarily there every day. Their thing that they do. They'll pick up a magazine and read it as opposed to jump onto an iPad and read something, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. So that's would you say that's one of the best things that you do, providing solutions for people who aren't necessarily as tech savvy as you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a bit like, you've probably got a father or a grandfather that was learned about an ATM machine. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to put I'm not a number. And then they use it and they find it's quite liberating. They don't have to go and stand in a queue now and just put the card in and get some cash out.
Yeah. How did we
So
ever cope without it?
yes. But it can be quite a journey or a mindset change to move somebody from thinking that they're fine into that they could be, in my terminology, they can be finer.
So, Sharon, can you, without giving any, company secrets away, I understand you were in Mildura for a period of time just before the Easter Anzac break. Are you allowed to tell us a little bit about what you were doing there and for which company?
Yeah, sure. So we've been at Mildura Fruit Company. Their software packing, their software that runs their business has reached end of life. And they'd gone to the market to look for a new software company that could support them in their packing operation, and we got selected. So we were in Mildura pre Easter for implementation and go live. And so at the moment we're supporting from afar. everything went well, but one should not forget that it's a huge operation, a huge undertaking, and there'll be quite a bit of bedding in time. But you know what? Fruit got into cartons and got onto pallets and got to customers. So it was a very good start. So we're still pretty focused on getting all that ticking along, and yeah, it's good.
Amazing. So does that mean that everybody that's working for that company, when they come into work and they switch on their computers, the software that they're using for X, Y, and Z is all ABC software?
Correct.
Wow.
With the
Okay.
exception of their accounting system, of course,
Yes.
and then we interface, we send data into that system, and yeah, yeah,
Big things, big things. Well, Rach has got some questions for you as well. So I'm going to hand the microwave. I'm going to hand the microphone. Microwave. I must be hungry.
I'll
Ready for
I'll
some
take
soup.
a free. I'll take a. I'll take a
You
free.
take the microwave. Take the microphone.
Does it come with something in it?
I must be hungry. I will pass the microphone over to Rach, who's got some more questions for you there, Sharon. Thank you.
Good stuff. Well, you're definitely overqualified for the job, Sharon, with all of your experience in horticulture and with software over so many years. And that, of course, also led you to us at the Australian Citrus Congress, which was so
Yeah, it was
fun.
pretty good.
It was great. It was great to see you. Can you, looking very far back now, if however many weeks ago, could you tell us a little bit about the presentation and panel that you were on? Obviously, there was a lot to take in during that presentation day, but
Yeah.
is there a specific sense of type of messaging that you hoped the attendees kind of took with them from your presentation? And also, did you take any messages for yourself from some of your fellow panelists?
I think that it was around technology. So there's a lot of growers that they could adopt. There's a technology like our software, as an example, that's not expensive to adopt in the scheme of things. You know, it's not like going out and buying yourself a $500,000 new tractor. So, but at the same time, it brings a lot of advantages, but it's always there's the learning, right? You have to learn to use it before you get those advantages. And that was the message I was trying to get across. That so you know, if you went from a handwritten ledger and started using like Xero, or then you have to learn how to use that software. So once you've learned it though, crikey, I mean, it's so much easier, and it's so much better, and you get so much more out of it. Whether it's as simple as just knowing your numbers, or whether people leverage it in different ways, but having something like Xero or MYOB, you wouldn't dream of doing it on a piece of paper any longer. So that's the message I was wanting to get across, that there are really good software tools out there like we have that you can do a lot with, get the data in the system, make it work for you. All you got to do is get over the hump of learning how to use it.
So do you think that's why people at times can be a bit adverse to adopting this, is because of that learning curve? Or are you finding that people are slowly seeing the benefits of implementing technology within their businesses still? As the, I guess, saturation of it in the market grows, like there's so much of it around, yeah.
As your trusted friend down the road, or people around you, start extolling the virtues and the virtues, but the advantages of having software and what it brings to them, you become more thoughtful about maybe that you could have that in your organization. So there is, I think, a couple of issues. One would be, well, it's not broken. Why do I need to fix it? And it's not a break fix situation. It's like, just get better at it. Just be, faster and leaner. You can do more with less. And farmers are so time poor. They really are time poor. So the smaller farms where the owner operator is doing everything, they're kind of almost the hardest to learn something new, because their day is full top to bottom. So it's kind of in that middle space, in like middle, not corporate, but where they actually have some office people and a bit more. It's in that space, I think, that the most advantage lies.
Just kind of carrying on from that, but the opposite. Specifically on the topic of labor, because that was a big part of, you know, why we were talking about technology and how it can be used, particularly within the labor hire challenges that we're currently facing. Obviously, the technology that you guys produce and a lot of companies produce is able to relieve some of the challenges that growers have. What are some of the challenges that ABC as a company are being faced with when you're trying to support your clients, particularly in that labor hire space? Like, obviously, there's changes in regulations and other things, but what is the challenge that you guys are facing in that space?
Yeah, I guess the biggest one is just making sure our clients are using the software to their best advantage. Because we've got lots of flexibility in it because there's lots of different ways of picking and pruning and thinning, and so we've tried to build lots of levers in it. So it's really that follow up to make sure that people are using it well. Um, and we have to keep on top of the legislation. We're not a payroll system, but if we're showing productivity and the like, we need to at least have all the big ticket numbers in the system. Um, and at the end of the day, our software isn't going to magic up new workers, but what it will show you who your good people are and who your poor people are. And we do have the larger clients that they'll give, that are bringing on like tens and tens, hundreds of workers through a harvest or through usually harvest, because that's where the rubber meets the road. And they will look and they will, if someone over 3 days hasn't done a necessary improvement in their skill level, they will let them go, because some people are cut out to be picking things, right? And and if you just trim off your bottom 10%, or there are significant savings to be made, but you have to actively use the software and make it work.
And read the data that it's producing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. And make your judgments. And also the other way is the workers who are who are your best, they're the ones you really want to hang on to. So it's good to know that end as well, because that's like the reward and the stick, I suppose. But again, what we're delivering is a tool. And we've got lots of different farms that use it in different ways, but ultimately the data is what they're using to then to create actions that have financial ramifications.
Yeah, just on that, with the kind of range of farms that and companies that use this software, have you found any very specific and interesting differences between how citrus companies are using your software versus other horticulture businesses?
Um, no, not really. Citrus kind of falls into that, pick it into a bin, which is like your apples and your mangoes and avocados and the like. And then the next one is like in the berry space and in the cherry space, where they're picking it into little tubs and buckets and what have you. But citrus is pretty sort of standard from a picking into a bin perspective.
Well, that's nice. Makes things a bit easier, I suppose.
Yeah.
um, well, that's really interesting. It's always great to hear from that more inside side of it all. What's something that you would say, just carrying on from before about adopting this kind of technology? What would you say to a grower or even a larger industry player who has been hesitant to pick up this kind of technology?
I'd say nothing ventured, nothing gained. You know, if you don't take a step, you're not going to get the improvements, and you're not going to get the advantages. So you can take a step and make the journey slow and steady, or you can just take off all your clothes and jump in. Either way works. And we as a company will support, those clients, will support those people, whatever the pathway is that suits them. But you just got to start.
That's great. I love that. Brilliant advice.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you for joining us. It's
my
just been
pleasure.
such a delight to have you on the pod. It really has. And I wonder how many listeners are now looking up where Hawke's Bay is and planning their next bike riding wine tour. I certainly am going to.
I tell you, yeah, it's definitely worth a visit, but maybe not
Not in
in
June, no.
June.
I have to save up some pocket money for the summer, maybe for the summer months. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one.
Well, thank you so much. Enjoy being back at home, and thank you again so much for your contribution at the Congress.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Rachel.
That's very, very good advice from Sharon there, Rach. Take your clothes off and jump in. I think that's a great, a memorable way of encouraging people to give new software a go.
Very cold water, hopefully. Not. But no, it definitely is. And it's a topic that we're hoping to cover more of, technology, labor hire. It's all very, intersecting. There's a lot of different avenues that you can see it from, particularly in this industry. But it's awesome to just hear more ways about how technology can be inserted into so many of the procedures that are needed to make not just an orchard, but a pack house and all kind of sectors of citrus run.
Mm. And to help businesses save money
Yes, of
as
course.
well, which everyone needs to do these days, don't they? Well, look, we've had our break over Easter. It's back into it, back to the computers, Rach. I'll be looking forward to seeing you on Teams again soon. And I think that's it for us today.
Yeah, I think that is it. And with that, we will see all of you next month. What's next month? It is May. So we will see you all at the end of May. Bye.
See you, Rach.
The Full Bottle Podcast is funded by Hort Innovation, using the Citrus Research and Development Levy and contributions from the Australian Government.